Hey guys, welcome to the tutorial in which we are looking at the functional phrases that we can use in the context of mediation and conflict resolution. Again, we come back to when you're speaking a language that is not yours, being aware of the connotations and the implications of the words that you use, because the same message can be given, or almost the same message can be given in many different ways. The way it's given can affect the way that it's perceived and received. So we're going to give you the vocabulary, the phrases you need to make sure that you remain diplomatic and sensitive and empathetic in these situations. So the impact of poor phrasing: using unclear or harsh language can escalate tensions quickly, making conflicts harder to resolve and increasing resistance from participants. So if you're very blunt and direct in your language, either because you choose to be or either because of your language limitations, that can be poorly received. People and the other people in the mediation could feel attacked. Tone, diplomacy and empathy. Success in English-speaking business mediation relies heavily on a tone that is diplomatic and empathetic, which helps build trust and open communication. Very important, not linguistic, but let's say technically very important, is separating the person from the problem. A core principle is to address the issue without blaming individuals, which helps keep discussions objective and focused on solutions. So you always want to focus on issues, you don't want to focus on people, because that really usually does end in escalation. Preparing for a calm dialogue, using neutral and clear phrases sets the stage for calm, productive communication, essential for effective conflict resolution. So we're back to this idea of being very careful with your language, being neutral, being empathetic, being diplomatic, being tactful. And in order to be all these things, you need a good base of professional phrases that you can use. So when you're opening the mediation, first of all, everyone should have in mind what the mediation is for. You want to set a calm and respectful tone, encouraging all parties to engage openly and feel valued. It establishes the mediator's role as a neutral facilitator, aiming for collaborative solutions. So you could open the mediation something like this: let's take a few minutes to discuss this openly. Or, my goal today is to help us find a solution that works for everyone. Or, I appreciate you both taking time to talk through this. So neutral and encouraging and positive. No one's being accused of anything. There's nothing personal in there. We're focusing on resolving the issues. So you want to use language that reassures and includes all participants, avoiding blame or exclusion. Now, you might even have an opinion as a mediator who is actually to blame for this, but the language that you use should not reflect that. Phrases should emphasize mutual respect and shared goals to build a positive dialogue environment. Often by the time a conflict gets to mediation, there can be a lot of emotions involved. Usually people are pretty annoyed already. At least one person is by the time things get to mediation. So you want to acknowledge that, demonstrating that this can be a difficult time. So phrases like, I can see this situation as being frustrating. You want to validate the experiences of both, or if there's more than two, but typically both participants, both sides in the mediation. It sounds like you both had different experiences. So I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I'm saying you guys have experienced these things in a different way. And make sure everyone's included. The last thing you want to be as a mediator is to look like you are favoring one side over the other. Clarification and detail are very, very important. The mediator must define the problem clearly without taking sides, ensuring all parties feel heard and understood. Neutrality helps build trust and keeps discussions focused. So we can use phrases like, can I just check that I've understood correctly? So the main issue seems to be, let's agree on what the problem is here before we discuss solutions. So it's very important to be precise and define your terms. The small details can make a difference in these situations. And obviously as a mediator, you're going to want to be comfortable that you have understood fully the situation. So you can use these phrases and you can paraphrase and summarize what you've understood. And that will give both sides a chance to clarify or correct the record if they feel that your understanding is not quite right. The main thing by mediation is to encourage dialogue between the different sides, between the different participants. So you want to promote cooperation, first of all, and think about goals that can be shared, that are achievable. So you can say things like, let's focus on what we can control. So maybe mistakes have been made, there have been consequences, but there's nothing we can do about them now. But let's look at what we can control. Invite ideas, invite suggestions and observations. What do you think might help move this forward? One of the other participants might already have an idea. If not, you can suggest options. Can we explore some possible options together? Now notice in these three phrases the neutrality. It's neutral, it's encouraging, it's not taking sides, and it's always focusing on issues and ideas and not individuals. And you can be the one to propose solutions. We've seen before in the course hedging language, and we would use that again here. So you can say things like, one possible solution could be. So you're using that sort of conditional language. Could be. Inviting collaboration. Would you be open to trying? Again, this sort of conditional, hypothetical language, these soft models. Would you be open to trying? How about we test the solution for a week and review it? So again, with this language, how about we? So you're making suggestions in quite a soft, quite a polite way, and hoping for buy-in from the participants in the mediation process. And then hopefully you get to the point where you have a solution or attempt at a solution or a resolution. So we can use phrases that signal agreement and mutual understanding as you bring the mediation to a close, ensuring all parties feel heard and respected as the discussion concludes. It sounds like, again, we've got this hedging language, it sounds like we have a plan everyone can agree on. Thank you both for your openness today. Let's follow up in a few days to see how things are going. So again, notice that language. It sounds like, I'm not saying, okay, we have a plan. It sounds like we have a plan. I'm not being too direct or too firm in my idea. I'm hedging. Reinforce commitment and goodwill by choosing language that emphasizes collaboration, future follow-up, and appreciation for contributions. Always be appreciative of your participants, because it's not easy to do this, especially if you feel like maybe you're being accused of something. So avoid phrases that sound like accusations. Instead of saying you're wrong, which sounds confrontational and escalates defensiveness in the other person, you say, I see it a bit differently. So it's not I'm right, you're wrong. So you have your interpretation, I have mine. Instead of saying that's not my fault, you say, let's look what happened together. So we're going to look at what happened. We're not trying to blame anyone for what happened. Definitely don't say calm down, because that dismisses and invalidates the feeling of the person. You can say, let's take a moment to think. As is quite often the case that we've seen in different contexts, and especially in mediation. Try not to be too direct. Use softening phrases like just, perhaps, might, could, may, this kind of language. Don't ignore and don't dismiss. Rephrase. When you hear someone make a point, even if you're pretty confident you've understood what the point was, it's a good idea to rephrase it anyway, so that they understand that you've understood, and they understand that they're being listened to. This part of active listening, which we have seen elsewhere. So summing it up, mediation should have a calm and purposeful opening. Start mediation by setting a calm tone and clearly defining the purpose to create a respectful atmosphere. Acknowledge emotions. Recognize feelings involved to build trust and validate participants' experiences without judgment. Clarify and encourage solutions. Clearly identify the problem and gently encourage constructive dialogue focused on finding solutions. Something for you guys to think about is think of a past disagreement you helped resolve and which phrases could improve or could have improved at the time. It doesn't need to be a formal situation, formal business mediation, but I'm sure we've all had in life situations where colleagues or friends or family members are in conflict with each other and we've stepped in to try and resolve it. Think about how you went about it and how you could perhaps have improved it, both in terms of your technique and the vocabulary that you would use in English if you found yourself in that situation again. Thank you very much, everyone. I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye.